So you want to quit scrolling, but you think your life is about to get boring. Well, if you don't have any good alternatives, you're probably right. But as someone who hasn't just quit scrolling, but all solo online entertainment since the end of 2024, I can tell you it's pretty easy to stay off your phone when you have the greatest scrolling replacement known to man, the side quest. Scrolling serves the purpose of making a boring life seem interesting. It occupies your time and attention to keep you distracted from the fact that you're really not doing all that much with your life. The moment you quit scrolling is the moment that reality slaps you in the face to tell you that your life is actually pretty dull and boring. You'll be faced with two options here, the blue pill or the red pill. You can either take the blue pill, continue scrolling, stay distracted and keep living your boring life, or take the red pill, get bored for a bit, realize your life isn't all that interesting, and actually do something about it. Most people take the blue pill, return back to their boring lives, and that's that. But the people that take the red pill are the people that end up living very interesting lives. At the end of 2024, I was faced with this exact decision. Keep scrolling, stay distracted, and keep living my boring life, or get bored for a bit, realize my life isn't all that good, and do something about it. In that moment, I decided to take the red pill, and my life was never the same. See, for most of my teenage years up until early adulthood, I spent all this time scrolling, binge watching, gaming a bunch. I spent this time distracted. And what happened is I slowly started building up a very, very mediocre life. After finishing school, I jumped into a university degree that I really was not interested in. About 1 year into that degree, I realized, okay, I know what I want to do. I want to be an entrepreneur. So what did I do? Well, I kept distracting myself. I kept scrolling, I kept binge watching, I kept gaming. And guess what happened? I stayed at university for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years at university, staying distracted, just doing something I didn't want to do. Then I finished university, and that was the moment. That was the moment I was going to be an entrepreneur. No, because after university, everyone gets a job. So I kept staying distracted. I got myself into a job that I was not at all interested in. This took me up until the end of 2024, and I went, this is really not the life I want to live. I'm working a job that I have zero interest in. The progression into my future is not at all what I want my life to look like. I've just been passively living for the last 10 years, and I've ended up living a very, very boring life. I noticed a pattern. I kept living the same 6 months over and over and over again. I would get a bit of motivation, I would get excited, maybe I would try and start a business, and then very quickly I would lose motivation, lose interest, give up and quit, and go back to distracting myself and back to my ordinary existence. At the end of my first year in my 9-to-5 job, I realized I am living a miserable existence. I do not enjoy this whatsoever. Something about my behaviors has to change if I want my life to change. I really looked back to the root cause. I thought, okay, what's the reason I can't consistently take action? What's the reason I don't have any time in the day? What's the reason I can't concentrate on tasks? What's the reason I can't stick with any of my goals? And it kept coming back to the fact that I was spending all of this time and attention on online entertainment, on scrolling, binge watching, gaming, doing all of these things that were just a horrendous return on my time and making sure that I was just constantly distracted. Systematically, I removed every single piece of online entertainment from my life. It started off with scrolling and I worked all the way down. What I noticed very, very quickly when I didn't have all of this time taken from me distracted is that my life is pretty boring right now. I'm living the same 6 months over and over again. I cycle into the same office to work the same job, doing something I don't like 5 days a week, 40 something weeks a year. This is a boring life. I need to change something about this. I knew the first step to having a less boring life is having a less boring job, and realistically, not having a job in the first place. So I quit my job and decided, okay, I'm gonna go all in as an entrepreneur. This is what I've wanted to do since I was 20 years old. I've put this off for way too long. Let's just go all in and do this. And this was fantastic. I was amped up, I was excited, I was doing the work. But after about a month or so, I realized I'm still living a boring life. I'm still working all the time. I'm still in the same place. I'm still doing the same things. I'm just working on different things. It's slightly better, but it's still not amazing. And all of this spare time I had back, all my brain was thinking was go and scroll, go and binge watch something, go and do something really entertaining. And I realized, okay, I need a side quest. So I thought about it. I thought, okay, what would be a cool side quest to implement? What would be a cool thing that I could add to my life? The conclusion I came to was running. I wanted to learn how to run. So I started running a bit. I was running about 3 days a week, and this was good. I was enjoying it, but I thought, I need an actual goal here. I'm just running for the sake of running. It's better if I work towards something. So for me, the goal was, okay, in 6 weeks time, you're gonna run a marathon. Great goal. The problem was I hadn't run more than 10 Ks in my life. So over the next 6 weeks, I really focused on the side quest of running. 3 days a week, I would go out there, try and progress the distance every single week. And 6 weeks later, I took off to run my first marathon. Now, was I ready to run a marathon? Not even close. However, I thought, okay, the 6 weeks are up, it's time for me to run it. So I set off to run, and I'm not gonna lie, it was very, very challenging. About halfway through, I started getting cramps, and that quickly progressed to full body cramps. It was a bit of a nightmare. We battled it out, and after about 5 or so hours, we finished the marathon. Now, this felt amazing for me. This was one of the most challenging things I'd ever done in my life, and I thought, okay, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. Problem is, I now don't have a goal. So I thought, okay, what's the next big challenge for running? How can I create a goal that allows me to really go after this for a very long period of time and stay really dedicated to trying to get better at running? For me, that was running a marathon every single month. So I kept training, the next month rolled around, and it was time to hit the second marathon. And I'm not gonna lie, second marathon was equally as brutal, if not worse. This is looking grim. I was doing so well, and then the cramping hits me again. However, after finishing it, I realized, okay, I can keep doing this. I can keep ticking away at this side quest over time, but this only requires 3 runs a week. This is not a huge amount of time, and guess what? I'm not scrolling. I'm not distracting myself. I have all of my time and attention back. It's time for me to take on another side quest. It's time for me to fill more of this empty time to live a more interesting life. So I thought, okay, I've taken on a pretty good physical endeavor here, but it's time for me to do something mentally challenging. It's time to challenge me in a different dimension. So I thought, okay, what's a great mental challenge I can do that's gonna take a bit of time, it requires a fair bit of effort, but it's gonna give me a big unlock, a big return. And I realized for me, that was gonna be language learning. So I thought, okay, in 7 months' time, I want to be conversationally fluent in Spanish. This unlocks all of South America except for Brazil. This unlocks parts of Europe. This is gonna be a huge unlock. Lots of relationships I can now have, lots of people I can now talk to, lots of places I can now go to and feel comfortable. This would be a really good skill to acquire and a really big challenge to set for myself. The reason for that is for me to become conversationally fluent, I would need to spend 4 hours every single day receiving Spanish input for 7 months. This side quest was incredible because it was the perfect brain rot replacement. Unlike running, where you might run 3 days per week, you can be consuming Spanish content all the time. So every time I could have been spent scrolling, or any time that could have been spent binge watching something, I could just be binge watching Spanish content, and I could be improving my Spanish over time. Now, after finishing that first marathon and even the second marathon, I thought, okay, there is not a chance there's anything I'm gonna do in my life that could possibly be harder than that. This was just a different level of pain. It couldn't get harder. This Spanish learning, 4 hours a day for 7 months, this was significantly harder than any marathon I've ever run. This was absolutely brutally difficult because to do anything for 4 hours a day for a week, even a month, very difficult. Real test on your consistency. To do this for over half a year was brutal. But month after month, we kept going after it. I kept consuming the Spanish content. I kept going on the runs. Marathon 3, Marathon 4, Marathon 5. The marathons kept progressing and the Spanish kept progressing. I realized it was time for me to take on another side quest. Now, this is something that I'd been doing in my life for quite a while, but I thought, okay, it's time to really take this seriously. And that was going to the gym. I'd been trying to build a strong, powerful body for over half a decade, but realistically, my progress was not very good. I thought, okay, let me actually try and do this properly. Let me actually try and do what is required to get to where I'm trying to get to. So I started taking my weightlifting and my nutrition very seriously. Now, of course, just like all the side quests I'd had up until this point, they all require consistency over long periods of time. But slowly I was able to start progressing. And while it's very hard to see any progress when you look yourself in the mirror every day, when I zoomed out over the past 2 years, I realized I'd actually made quite a lot of progress. So this took me from 2024 up until 2025. And I realized, okay, the life I'm living right now is far more interesting. It's far more exciting than the life I was living just a year ago. But guess what I also realized? Because I'm not distracted all the time, because I don't have all of these things pulling my time and attention, my brain is thinking, how do I get better? How do I make this situation even better? And what I realized is, okay, I have a business online. I'm going to the gym I'm running, I'm consuming language content. None of this requires me to be in one specific location. So why am I staying in Melbourne for the 5th year in a row? It's time to change something up. This is where I realized I could be doing these ordinary things in extraordinary places. Where could I go? Where could I experience that I have never experienced before? The opposite side of the world, a completely different culture, a completely different language, a completely different style of life. And how could I implement the exact life I'm currently living in these vastly different cultures? South America was the answer for me. Great weather, great culture, fantastic language immersion opportunity. All of these things really drew me to the fact that, okay, South America is where I need to spend this year. So along with my friend Toby, we booked flights, we booked 6 months of Airbnb accommodation, and we set it in stone. April 2025, we're going to South America. As 2025 kept progressing, January, February, March, I made it to the point where I'd spent 4 hours a day for 7 months consuming Spanish content. And this meant that on paper, I was conversationally fluent. This was the day before I was heading on the plane to South America. And now I'm currently recording this from an Airbnb in Buenos Aires. And these side quests had really started building up. Thanks to my language learning side quest, I've been able to build relationships and really experience the true South American culture. Thanks to my gymming side quests, I've been able to get in the best shape of my life. And thanks to my running side quests, I've been able to run 10 marathons in 10 months. Now I get to work on what I'm truly passionate about when I want, where I want. I get to do all of these ordinary things in extraordinary places. And as I complete one side quest, I bring in another. I'm now spending 2 hours a day receiving French input to become conversationally fluent in just 1 year from now. Going from an out of shape 9 to 5 worker dissatisfied with his current life to where I am now, this took me 15 months. 15 months where I removed scrolling and all of this online entertainment and replaced that huge void with meaningful activities, side quests to build a more interesting character and a more interesting life. These last 15 months made me realize there's really no limitation on what you can do when you live without online entertainment. This distraction was keeping me very, very comfortable in an average life, and simply replacing this distraction with side quests just added so many layers to my character, so many layers to my life, and made me realize, okay, I'm actually living an exciting life that I enjoy right now. For all the online entrepreneurs watching this video, if you want to turn distraction into deep work to start growing your business and living this interesting life, you can join the Modern Monk community for free. I'll leave a link in the description below for that. For everyone else, if you want to see how I progressed to the point of Spanish fluency in just 7 months, then I have a video for that. I'll leave it right here. So I'll either see you in that video or in the Modern Monk community. Cheers.